Hi guys, this is PP Reporter and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be covering NaagRazz's 5-1 victory in his local tournament organized by the Gurgaon community in India, wherein he has decided to take in a quite a bit of a spicy mon, which actually was the key to his victory in the tournament. And today we're going to try and kind of go through it and understand what worked for him, and maybe it just may help us in our own tournaments as well. So, without any further ado, NaagRazz, could you give a quick short introduction about yourself?
Hi guys, this is NaagRazz. So I've been playing Pokemon Go ever since it came out, and I am kind of a rural player. So the players who are not in the city or do not have anything like all of the Pokestops and everything to work around, they can also look around. Like you can do a lot of things as a rural player as well. That's it.
Well, Nags, can I call you Nags?
Yeah, sure.
So Nags, at least your gameplay is completely professional level, irrespective of where you started, and it's absolutely wonderful to sort of see that. So first of all, when we actually look into the tournament and we see your team. So what I can see over here is you've decided to sort of bring in Alolan Ninetales, Zwelius, Vigoroth, Registeel, Stunfish, and your Jellicent. So could you just take all of us through why did you select this sort of a team?
Yeah, sure. So my first thought process was like, I got this Jellicent just before the tournament, so I wanted to use it. So all of my team, like all 5 of those, are around that Pokemon. So first of all, I just selected Jellicent. Then I knew there will be a lot of meta Pokemons like Marowak and all the Great League staples. So I wanted to cover everything. That that decision went into Zwelius. So I wanted Zwelius to counter a lot of things, and Dragon Breath is so oppressive in Great League. That's why Zwelius.
Right.
Vigoroth again is a wonderful safe swap. Whenever Vigoroth is available in any of the self tournaments or anywhere else, it's a really nice Pokemon to pick up for the safe swaps. Then Alolan Ninetales recently got buffed with the Powder Snow and the Weather Ball, so I wanted to use that. Registeel again is a very meta Pokemon in Great League. It can have a lot of play. It is a very good closer.
But
If you have all the shields down.
but was Registeel really all that useful for you in the tournament though?
It was not that. Actually, it is a wonderful closure because of its hard-hitting charge moves and lock-on. So I wanted to have it because, it depends on the opponent's teams as well. So Registeel did not had a lot of play in this tournament, but it is a wonderful Pokemon. So that's why I chose it.
Right, because in terms of observation, few of the biggest counters which Reggie has, it would be in terms of fire, ground, and fighting, which was something which in the initial listing did find that to be quite prevalent. And for some reason, Reggie Rocks just seem to outpace Reggie Steel in many ways. But yeah, like you said, it is a very good closure, even with the entire nerfing which happened with it in the last season. It still, I think, holds quite its own good stand in the meta.
Yes, and also I think everything is meta, right? People bring counters to their meta, so that's why I thought Registeel could have some play, but again, it depends on the opponent's team.
All right. Okay, great. So, so if you guys haven't checked out the initial team building guide, I would advise you guys to quickly check it out. It would, you guys might see it in the top right hand side right now, probably. But yeah, one thing I did not mention over there was Jellicent. Jellicent was not in as one of the core meta picks. Primarily because I did not find it to be very consistent in its matchup. So very quickly, I mean, I do see a lot of similarity between Jellicent and probably something like a Mantine. So why Jellicent over Mantine? In two words, if you had to say.
Okay. Mantine and Jellicent, yeah, those are similar, but again, Jellicent has a really hard hitting move, Shadow Ball, and it is similarly very bulky to Mantine. And again, Mantine is four times weak to electric. And I know Galvantula will be a threat in this tournament,
Right.
because that is allowed. So I did not want anything to be four times weak.
Understood. Perfect. Perfect. So something which does the work of Mantine with a bit more leverage and damage and not that much of a weakness, right?
Right.
Right, great, perfect. And since grass type is also not too prevalent, its added weakness of grass is somewhat neutralized as well.
Yes. Grass type, I never
Because
played with
it
grass
would
type
take super
actually.
effective from grass types.
Yes.
Right. Okay, fair enough. So let us actually finally kind of get into the actual matchups. So in the tournament, your first match was against Giant Redwood. If we take a look at his team and your team, there are a lot of similarities. The only difference is going to be with his pick on Alolan Marowak and Viscash, whereas you brought in Stunfisk and Jellicent. So, what was your game plan here?
Okay, my game plan, looking at his team, his entire team is weak to my Jellicent, apart from Zwellius. So my thought process was to lead with Jellicent and have two hard counters for Zwellius to protect. If the opponent leads with the Zwellius, I have two Pokemons in the back uh, to handle that. So that
Right.
was my process.
Right. So then let's kind of get into the matches itself. And I'm sure during the matches there will be a lot of questions come up. So I will be getting behind your life for that. Okay, so for the first match, you did lead with Jellison, Vigoroth there on the opposite side, and I believe Jellison pretty much walls a lot of Vigoroth's attack in general. Ghost type will resist your normal damage, and
Bulldoze will be neutral in this scenario, but again, Bulldoze takes a lot of time to be charged, and will not do a lot of damage as it is non-stab, as you can see right now.
right, and and then you farmed up enough for a shadow ball, and when the opponent loses a switch advantage, you deal the damage. Opponent not expecting that shadow ball, and I believe Jelson farms up pretty quickly as well, and then you are farming up your Alolan Ninetales, and enough with almost 100 energy goes for that weather ball, takes it out, and you seem to be quite well stacked with energy here. Out comes Vigoroth, and the body slam may KO it, and it does. And all that energy kind of goes down the drain over there. But then you have your Jellison, bubble beaming it down. It seems you absolutely loved debuffing your opponents over here. And you should be able to comfortably take the damage here. But Bulldoze still kind of comes in, and finally you have Zwalius. And at the back you have Vigoroth, so just going on debuffing the team here, and Vigoroth can take care of the rest, right?
Right.
And none of those body slams or anything is doing any much damage. And here you're pretty much just flexing, aren't you, with the shields?
Actually, not flexing. He also had one shield. I did not want to
Right.
like
You didn't
prolong
want
the
to
match.
completely, yeah, in case a Vigoroth body slam came in and it came down to the wire. So on the second match, we see Jellicent as a lead again, and you have Registeel on the other side. So both of Registeel's charge move will be resisted here. Yes, even Flash Cannon as well. And this is where you were mentioning about the hard hitting move set of Jellicent, right?
Right. And
And
also, opponent sees in the first match that I like going with bubble beams. So
so
he
you
would
you
probably have
decide
shield.
to decide to go straight bluff with a shadow ball, and he did a good catch with Vigoroth, but that really didn't help him much because it was just a bubble beam. And what I find really surprising is that Alolan Ninetales, even with Powder Snow, can actually take care of all the other fighters as well in the meta. It will get super walled by
Yes.
Registeel on the other end, but
Right, but that is not also like weather balls will surely chip. Like you can see the opponent is shielding right now. So
yeah, and you actually end up having a shield advantage thanks to this. Vigoroth comes in with double shield, and it is looking dangerous with that extra found up energy as well. Vigoroth comes in from the other side, had just enough to throw a body slam, and you have Zvelius at the back. Yeah, I don't see much hope for the opponent in this one, unfortunately. So you kind of decide to stick to the team because you understood the opponent's weakness and just decide to play along with it, right?
right, as I said, like all of the opponent's team was weak to Jellicent. So I just stuck around with that strategy.
And in the third one, you decide to swap it up with Alolan Ninetales in the lead and winning the lead. And they had decided to bring in Zwalius in order to counter that Jellicent. So good gameplay across over there. I'm sure that would have been extremely frustrating for them. You swap into your Stunfisk. So we see a change. You decide to keep Jellicent at bay for your third match. And the bone club's doing a decent amount of damage. However, the mud bomb from Stunfisk will be more than enough to take it down. A good amount of found up energy. Both of them with two shields, but this will deal a lot of chip damage on that Zvelius itself. And so to speak, you actually have two counters for Zvelius right there.
Yes, I already always had two counters to Zelius. I know there's Velius had most matches against my team, so that's why I already bring two Velius counter always in all the three matches.
Right, and here we see you go for the Vig mirror match, and I think yes, you were able to sneak in an extra counter. However, without the shields, they kind of got the advantage on that. And here it kind of came in quite close. The body slam from Zvelius had come in, they would have probably gained that last match as well. So a close match though, the last one. The opponent did a good job of recovery over there. For the next one, you have it against Maddie. So here, Maddie is running quite an interesting team. Can you just take us through your thoughts after seeing the opponent's team?
Okay, seeing again Maddie's team, Jellicent will have a lot of play. Like most of the matches are neutral with Jellicent. They are not like hard counter anything except for Venusaur. So I have counters for Venusaur in the back again. I will lead with Jellicent, I guess, and we'll have two counters to Venusaur in the back.
So, which counters were you planning on taking against Venusaur?
I was planning on taking Zvelius and Alolan Ninetales.
All right.
Those were two hard counters to Venusaur.
Okay, so let us run the first match and then let us collect our thoughts once. Okay, so you have Jellicent against Politoed. Now, Politoed is an extremely spammy mon and it can actually reach Earthquake fairly quickly as well. So here you decide to go straight for Shadow Ball, no baiting.
Right. I wanted to get shields or
Or
deal
deal
a lot
damage.
of damage. Yeah.
Right, and then they swap in, and you have enough energy to bubble beam it. And since you have counters for Politoed at the back, there is no need for you to actually switch out on this one. And since it does wall Vigoroth quite well, you're just playing the debuff game, hopefully to get a shield as well. And then you decide to switch in to Alolan Ninetales to catch that Brick Break. So that Vigoroth is actually running Brick Break. That's quite an interesting combination. Out comes Politoed. It will dish out its charge move. You can see the amount of energy it had stacked up. You actually let your Alolan Ninetales go down, bring in your Zwalius. You should be able to farm it down. And even if that weather ball hit, shouldn't do too much of a damage. And there comes Vigoroth, and you swap in with your Jellicent. Bubble Beam should be enough to debuff it. Oh, and it comes out with the Venusaur. So he did bring in Venusaur, but that Shadow Ball doing immense amount of damage. And it is able to take out Jellicent, but then you have Zwalius at the back. Frenzy Plant is something that's worth shielding anyways because it does so much of damage. And then comes Vigoroth with Brick Break, which is quite a dangerous scenario. And that Dragon Breath should be just enough to take it out. So that actually kind of came in quite with Venusaur at the back. So that was at the end of the day a worry point.
Yeah, that did came very close. But again, I had two shields. I knew Zwelia, there is not much in his team apart from Vigoroth that can wall Zwelius at that point of time. So I was pretty sure that I couldn't win that one.
Yeah, but he did have his Skarmory and Alolan Ninetales as well. So Skarmory does a pretty good job of walling Zwalius' attacks.
Yeah, but again, Dragon Breath is so oppressive, and Zwalius has a good attack stat as well. So that Dragon Breath really chunks everything. Apart from Alolan Ninetales, which double resist Dragon, everyone will be affected by his Dragon Breath.
Right. Well, there is one mon which I'm very keen on seeing if I do get a chance to see, which would be a Shadow Gardevoir, which would be so oppressive in this particular meta actually in itself. Anyways, jumping into the second match, did you have a change in strategy for the second round?
Uh, I don't think so. Like,
Okay.
again, I like to lead. I like to lead with Jellicent, and have two hard counters in the back.
Right. So let's check it out. Let's see how you actually played it out as well. So again, you lead with Jellicent and it is a Politoed in response. Pretty much same as the first matchup. And he swaps into his Vig over here again. Alright. And it seems to be going quite as same as the first matchup. So you're going ahead, debuffing the opponent, swapping in to your Alolan Ninetales. The body slam won't be dealing way too much. Is this a different match? Because it seems to be going. Okay, no. So
Yeah,
it
it is
it's
a different match.
yeah, because this time you were able to throw your charge move. The last time you were not. Otherwise, everything went exactly the same. And your opponent made a grave mistake of swapping in Venusaur. And you were able to bring in your Zwalius in itself. You get to throw your body slam, opponent shield, and you have your two shields to save both your mons across over here. So able to farm it down comfortably. You have a lot of energy, and you can go for those body slam spams. And Politoed, despite being a spammy mon in itself, I don't think it will be able to outlast Jellicent across here with a Shadow Ball. So well played, and I believe the opponent forfeited the third match across over here. But I think his team had quite a bit of reasonable counters against your team.
Yes, he did. In the second game, he also tried to catch the Shadow Ball, which I did in the first game. But I went for Bubble Beam instead. So, yeah, he.
I mean, yeah,
Also, his
if he was
team.
able to catch a Shadow Ball on that Vigoroth, that would have been a massive gain for him.
Yes, that would be a lot of energy wasted for me. Yeah, that would have made a lot of difference.
Okay, so now moving on to the third set for the tournament, which was against the Gaming Hunk. Now, again, we see a lot of similarity. The top line is pretty much the same, and the bottom line is changed. So, instead of Registeel, he's having Skarmory. In place of Jellicent, he has a Politoed, and Alolan Marowak in place of. Not exactly in place of, but in place of generally Stunfisk. So here again, you don't exactly seem to be having much of a counter for Jellicent. You tend to have a reasonable counter for Zwalius. So what were your thoughts?
Uh, Again, this is similar to the first match against Giant Redwood. Again, I can see Jellicent has a lot of neutral matches except for again Zwalius. So, my strategy was to again lead with Jellicent and have two counters from for Zwalius in the back.
So
I saw a lot of teams weak to Jellicent in this tournament. So most of the times I was leading Jellicent, and he is definitely my MVP for this tournament.
yeah, and I'm sure the viewers would have figured that out with the thumbnail as well. But there is this another mon which I've seen a lot of, but haven't seen too many in tournaments, which was Chestnut. And Chestnut, being a both fighter and grass type, seem to have a good combination and move set for balancing things out. And I would have loved to see some of these spicy pick mons to be there in tournaments. But let's see how the game progresses in this particular one.
Yeah, I actually contemplated bringing up Chestnut as well in place of Registeel. But again, I knew like Alolan Ninetales is top meta, and there will be a lot of Alolan Ninetales roaming around. So I actually went it with Registeel.
Right, actually, that also makes fair sense. So let's actually moving to the first match and see how it goes. So you lead Jellicent again, and you have Alolan Ninetales on the other side. Powder Snow will be resisted, and Weather Ball not doing all too much damage, so you can go straight for damaging the opponent, and he does a wonderful catch on a Vigoroth. So good catch across there. You go for debuffing him and then swap into an Alolan Ninetales. So now you're able to comfortably farm up that Vigoroth and able to take these body slams. You decide to still throw, okay, and it takes out that Vigoroth. Probably hoping to get a shield, but from the other side you have Alolan Ninetales with its shiny boost, throwing that Psyshock at you, and then you return one in favor, but the opponent swaps out to catch that Weather Ball again, and this one falls on Politoed. So incredible switches and catches. You're able to reach that body slam, but Politoed must be high on energy. He decides to shield, and this might be a Weather Ball. Okay, it's a Weather Ball. An Earthquake is a possibility still. You throw a body slam, and he decides to shield, and this should be an earthquake, I would presume. Oh, it's a blizzard. He's running a blizzard and is able to take out Zvelius. And quick swap into Alolan Ninetales against Jellicent. Baits with Weatherball, wonderful bait, and out comes Psyshock, but not enough to take out Jellicent. Now, Jellicent with a lot of energy, able to throw Shadow Ball towards that Politoed and just take it out. That was an amazing match. Your thoughts here, Nag?
Yeah, that was good matches. Like my opponent did really good sack swaps over there, like catching that shadow ball on Vigoroth, and again catching the weather ball on Politoed. Uh, but again, I had the team composition advantage, I guess, in that match. So I was able to align my counters well.
He couldn't get any of the hard counters in against the right one. Basically, the Zwalius lined up with Politoed instead of Alolan Ninetales, and like the whole gig. So very interesting. Keen to see the second match. So here we have Zwalius into Zwalius. You love to see this. Probably the one with the higher attack IV should be taking it. So it seems the opponent has the higher attack IV, so winning the CMP tie here. And you see a swap into Vigoroth, and then you counter swap into a Jellicent. So these body slams won't really be doing all that much.
Yeah, he had like the opponent had the CMP tie over me. He could have stayed in that match. We would have gone down at the same time. But again, that was the mistake in my opinion.
What I presume is he was saving his Zwalius for your Jellicent. That was one of the reasons why he swapped out and decided to sort of somewhat sack in Vigoroth over here. So here comes Zwalius as expected, and you bring in your own Zwalius and still gets Dragon Breath down. So you wait for the counter to go down, bring in Registeel, and the opponent has an Alolan Ninetales. So this doesn't look good for the opponent. This mon will pretty much wall and completely takes it out. So nothing much the opponent could do with that Registeel at the back. He completely probably wasn't expecting that.
Right. As I said in the beginning as well, Registeel is a really great closer. So shields were down, and Registeel had some really hard hitting moves. Unless the opponent had Alolan Marowak, it was pretty much game, I guess.
Right, and your Jellicent sort of kept the Alolan Marowak at bay. So it's interesting to see how the third match will go. So I see you're leading Jellicent. I am going to make a guess and probably say that he will lead with either a Politoed or Zvalius, maybe. Um, Anyways, let's see. It's a Vigoroth. So it's a favorable matchup across for you. Uh, Throwing across that bubble beams, nerfing the Vigoroth, then going for a swap into Zvalius, and you bring in your own Vigoroth. This doesn't look good for the opponent. He decides to shield, goes for a body slam of his own, gets a counter shield in return, and Vigoroth should be able to fairly decently farm down almost. So you have a bit of energy still throwing that body slam, taking it out. And Vig comes in from the other side, and you decide to bring in your Jellicent to absorb the damage. So Bulldoze still does a reasonable amount. Alolan Ninetales comes in, and this Shadow Ball will deal a lot of damage, yes. Now you bring in your own, going for that Psyshock. The opponent decides to let it go, brings in that Vigoroth for farming it down. So counter will deal neutral damage, and he decides to let it go. We didn't see any chance of winning that across, and that was a comfortable sweep from your side on that. Finally, we see Super Saiyan Joy as this is your next opponent, and we finally see that electric typing on the opponent as well. So, tell us, what did you think when you saw this team, and what did you take and why?
Okay, so as you mentioned, yeah, I finally saw Electric. Uh, from
Galvantula
looking
at that.
at the from looking at the opponent's team, I can see his Galvantula has positive matches across all of my Pokemons. All 6 months of mine are weak to his Galvantula, so I'm pretty much sure that he'll bring it up in all of the 3 matches. Uh, so to counter that, I would have to take Stunfisk in all of the matches. So that was my thought. Stunfisk will surely be there. Then Jellicent again, uh, apart from Galvantula, has a lot of positive matches uh, in his team. So Jellicent and Stunfisk is there. Third Pokemon will depend on what happens in the first round, I guess. So I bring Zwellius, I guess, in the first round.
Okay, despite the fact that you don't have another counter against a Zwellius of theirs.
Yes.
All right, so let's see how the matches play out. So the first, we see a Jellicent lead into a Galvantula, the worst possible lead you could have, and then immediate swap into Stunfisk, and you are met with Zwellius on the other side. So the opponent brought in both Zwellius and Galvantula here. So a good read by the opponent. Going for the mud bombs will do good chip damage, and body slam sort of coming in. But as you said, Stunfisk is important, so you are deciding to shield up and throw those mud bombs to take out Zwellius. The opponent also tries to stay in, and another body slam. Oh, a Dark Pulse comes in, and then finally you throw in your Mud Bomb as well, taking out the Zwellius. Your health being awfully low, and the opponent should be able to farm you down, yes. But then you come in with Jellicent. The opponent has a bit of extra energy and throws that Shadow Bone, which does so much of damage. An immediate swap out into Galvantula and met with Zwellius. Galvantula just has so much of win in this particular meta, and the bug typing dealing super effective on the dark typing would deal quite a bit on Zwellius anyways, and almost takes it out. And Galvantula there going for the bubble beam should deal decent amount of damage, and this is where that just super effective damage and not super effective comes into play, and a clutch shadow ball at the end to take out Marowak. Amazing. I mean, that came into that was some wonderful play there, Nags. What went through your mind when you were cornered like?
Okay. So as I was hard counter on my lead, I needed to win that second match uh, against Zwellius. So I was protecting my Stunfisk as much as I could have. So again, at last, the opponent gave up his Zwellius, and I won that. And thankfully, he had Alolan Marowak in the back. Again, nowadays, people run Shadow Bone instead of Shadow Ball. If it would have been Shadow Ball, this game would be over, because Shadow Ball will do a lot more damage than Shadow Ball.
Shadow Ball does, I guess, close to around about 70%, 75% damage, around about 100 something, 100 this thing against Jellicent. Whereas a Shadow Bone does something like a 55, I guess.
Yes. So that's clutch, and again I farmed up to almost a Shadow Ball on Jellicent before swapping out to Zvelius so that I can Shadow Ball Marowak at the end.
Right. So basically, extremely good decision making where you want the switch advantage and good energy management in terms of throwing the right moves on the right mon. So really good play we see here. Super Saiyan Joy is down one match. Moving on to the second match, was there a change in strategy or same?
Uh, it would be same, I guess. Most probably it will be same.
Right. So then, watching into the match, we have another Jellicent into a Galvantula. Immediate swap into a Zwalius, but then you are countered by an Alolan Ninetales. That's a super hard counter. Alolan Ninetales will be able to take these body slams on and decides to throw that weather ball. And I'm sure it has a little bit of extra energy farmed up. And out comes Jellicent. And probably you decide to shield the Psyshock. A good shield across over there. Going to debuff and farm up energy from this Alolan Ninetales. It decides to throw another Psyshock. Doesn't deal too much of damage after being debuffed and having some amount of energy here on Jellicent. Out comes Valius on the other side. You throw a move, debuff it, and are we going to see a switch? Out comes Galvantula, and you decide to shadow ball it and they decide to shield it, and you swap in with Stunfisk. So the only thing which Galvantula can do over here is keep going for lunge and shield the initial mud bombs as much as possible. So the lunge is chipping away at Stunfisk, going for double mud bomb here, and even that one single mud bomb is not dealing all that much damage. And then you see a swap in to Zwalius, and it's not looking good for Jellicent here, but you still invest a shield, try to go for that shadow ball, not able to make it, and the opponent has another body slam ready against that Stunfisk. So an unfortunate loss. Was this like the first loss in the tournament for you?
Yes, indeed, it was. So for the last shield, the thought process was to get a shadow ball through because that was my only win condition.
But shadow ball again would be resisted by Zwalius, right?
Right, but Zvelius is not bulky. In Great League, it is kind of frail. It has high attack stat. So Dragon Breath will is so oppressive. Stunfisk would not have any chance to shield after that.
Right.
Because of Dragon Breath. So the thought process was to get some damage with Shadow Ball, and maybe Mud Bomb could take it out. So.
And not to mention, you just got hard countered like really badly. You had Galvantula, Alolan Ninetales, and Zwalius on the other side. Wasn't looking very good for your team there. So final match, what did you choose to bring? And
so I chose to bring Alolan Ninetales just because Galvantula likes to lunge a lot. At least lunge will be resisted with Alolan Ninetales, and also the opponent is bringing both Galvantula and Zwalius in the same team. So I went with Ninetales in the third game.
Right, so that at least the weather ball spam might actually deal good damage against his team. So let's get into the third match and see how it goes. So we see a Vigoroth lead into an Alolan Ninetales. It is a positive matchup, but I'm pretty sure this is not what you were having in mind when you brought in Alolan Ninetales.
Right, I did regret not bringing Jellicent again in the lead.
Right, so the opponent did a pretty good job of reading and countering across over here, and the opponent decides to invest shields. However, in a one shielding scenario, the Alolan Ninetales would win, but the opponent goes for a double shield. and wins the switch advantage. So here you're forced to bring in your Vigoroth against the opponent eats at body slam, but at least you are at a shield advantage. The opponent brings in Galvantula. Bug types do resist the counter in general, however, Galvantula is still fairly squishy. Body Slam does massive damage on the opponent, and the lunge should be enough to take it out. Out comes Zwelius, but on the other side, you have Alolan Ninetales, and it just feels like a GG to me at this stage. That Weather Ball should be enough to kind of completely KO Zwelius, and that's your first loss in the tournament. So it seems like very good prediction by the opponent, and he did have a team to counter your team specifically.
Right. So the opponent really outsmarted me. Yeah, I could not have done anything with all the team compositions.
Right. It was. It was a pretty difficult scenario, and he left out Zwelius and brought in Vigoroth. I think that's what really changed the matchup. Had it been Zwelius at the start, it might have been a very different outcome. So, but good matches across over there. We have across the fifth match in the tournament, which you have against Fak Patan. Now, this is a shadow intensive team that I see. Quick thoughts.
Okay, again, I see electric type over there with Magnezone, so I thought that the opponent will bring it up because of Zelicent. But again, I still went with Jellicent and had counters for that Magnemite or Magnezone.
Right, and Magnezone is actually has quite a decent amount of wins and matchups in the meta, actually, and it would actually do pretty well against your Zwelius, against the Jellicent, Registeel, almost, and Alolan Ninetales as well. It would suffer probably most against your Stunfisk and Vigoroth, and probably a neutral matchup with Registeel. I think Registeel wins it though, is my guess.
Registeel would win it in one shield. But I guess if Magnezone decides to two shield,
He can probably
straight wild charge.
Wild charge it down. Right. So interesting. So what was your team comp here?
It would be probably Jellicent in the lead and Stunfisk and Vigoroth.
Okay, Stunfisk to take care of the Magnezone and Vigoroth also to counter the Magnezone itself.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so pretty much a ABB lineup.
Right. I like those lineups. Like I build my team comps according to my lead. Whatever I'm weak to in the lead, I'll have to hard counters for its counter. So.
Right. So let's see how your first match ends up going against Fak Patan, and if all these shadow. I'm really curious to see if he has a cross chop Machoke on that. A shadow cross chop Machoke, possible with karate chop, can be interesting. Let's see. So it's a Vigoroth into an Alolan Ninetales lead. You decide to swap out into Zwelius. Alright, I will check with you back on this. And okay, you have Jellicent at the back. So he comes up with a Dragonite and farms down on Zwelius. So you bring in your own Alolan Ninetales. That resistance to Dragon really coming into play here. Out comes Politoed. You decide to go for either damage or shield and throw the Psyshock, which deals reasonable damage. You bring in your Jellicent with the Politoed. The Earthquake does a reasonable amount of damage against Jellicent, and Shadow Ball here almost takes out Politoed. Out comes Vigoroth. It's a favorable matchup for Jellicent, and bubble beaming it down, nerfing Vigoroth. Body slams won't be doing all too much, but bulldoze and actually able to deal a reasonable amount of damage, almost taking out Jellicent. The opponent shields. Out comes a Alolan Ninetales with a good amount of health. Body slam, not really enough. You're able to farm down. Out comes Politoed, and with a shield and energy, it should be a comfortable win here in the first round across. And Vigoroth was still there at the back, and it kind of comes in with a body slam, and you have another weather ball for it. So that Vigoroth kind of pretty much came out of nowhere. Alright, that was a very interesting matchup. Uh, yes, Nags.
Yeah, so for the first swap in, I wanted to bring out the counter to my Jellicent. So whenever I bring out the Chvalius, either the opponent will bring out his Magnezone, or in this case Dragonite. Dragonite is also a really good counter to Jellicent because of that Dragon Breath and Dragon Claw.
Right. And
I just
it
wanted to
resists
bring
your
it out.
water
Yeah.
typings generally.
Yes.
So hence you decide to bring in your Zwalius to bait out a good counter for Jellicent, take out that counter and try to go with Jellicent for the win. Good strategy, and it did somewhat pay off. You were able to use your Alolan Ninetales to take out that Dragonite. So going into the next matchup, we got okay, so right out of the start, we got Jellicent versus a Shadow Magnezone. It doesn't look good. Immediate swap out. You see a Vigoroth mirror match. Here, your Vigoroth had energy advantage, and there seems to be a certain degree of lag on the opponent. You were able to get a couple of extra counters off over there. The opponent throws his own body slam, but you're able to get to yours slightly quicker, taking out that Vigoroth. Outcomes Politoed. These body slams will still deal a reasonable amount of damage on that Politoed. Able to farm it down, but down to yellow. You decide to bring in your Jellicent because anyways Magnezone is there at the back, which is not very good for both the mons which you got. However, farming up, going for the Shadow Ball, taking out the mon and bringing in Zwalius to pretty much deal the attack damage, and able to sort of take out Magnezone across over there. So that seemed like an interesting one. What are your thoughts on?
Yeah, so the opponent did bring Magnezone. In this case, also you mentioned that there was a certain degree of lag. Uh, Again, I checked it with the opponent, and he got in the damage on me, and I actually stopped attacking in between, which almost costed me that mirror Vigoroth match. So one thing that I would need, or I would suggest everyone here is do not commit a Vigoroth sin. So it is when an opponent switches in his own Vigoroth to an existing Vigoroth. So that is not a good matchup uh, in any scenario. So the opponent committed that, and that won me the switch, which in turn got me this win.
Right. So with Vigoroth, it's pretty much charge move dependent on who actually kind of takes the win in that mirror, and anyone with an energy advantage pretty much is in a better spot over there.
All right.
Right. So you have technically won the matchup as such, but going into the third match, let's see how that sort of plays out here. So for the third match, we see a Jellicent lead into a Machoke. So and a quick swap out into a Vigoroth. Now, Vigoroth is something which Jellison feels comfortable countering. This is something we have learned throughout all these matchups today. And he goes straight for the bulldoze. You bring in your Vigoroth, knowing full well that you'll be able to sort of counter and farm it down. Take it out with a body slam. The opponent decides to save his shield. Out comes Machoke. Doesn't look too good for Vigoroth, and that brick break is enough to take it out. So it's not running cross chop, unfortunately. So out comes Jellicent, and on the other end there is a Dragonite. You try to go for damage, but the opponent shields correctly, and you swap out, farming a little bit of energy, and Zwelius is actually able to take out the Dragonite. With the energy gained, you throw a body slam against the Machoke. Now Machoke is in here with a lot of energy, but no shield. Fortunately, you got two shields. He throws a big break, and you're able to get to that Shadow Ball, and this should KO the opponent. So that actually came in quite close. So quite well played with the swaps and energy management across over there.
Right. In the end, I actually made a mistake, I guess. I brought in Jellicent way too quick, and my switch clock was not up. As you might have saw, like I was tapping Zwelius for a lot of time over there with the Dragonite matchup.
Right. And hence you were forced to try and farm up as much energy as possible in that particular situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our final match, we have it against Rajada, and we see quite a similar team composition as few of the earlier matches. So, Nags, are we going to see a Jellicent, Vigoroth, and an Alolan Ninetales team comp again?
Yes, of course. Along through, like in this entire tournament, I saw this kind of lineup. Quite a few of my opponents has the same team comp. So I am using the same team, like Jellison lead and gain two hard counters for.
And then two hard counters for the Zwelius, if at all, at the back, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. So, without further ado, let's get into the final set of matches. So, for the first match, as said, we see a Jellicent go into a Vigoroth. Again, a positive matchup over here. Jellicent just has to pretty much go for Bubble Beam here, and that should be enough. Farms up a little bit of extra energy in order to bait out those shields, and Bubble Beam nerfing the opponent over there. The opponent decides to swap out into a Alolan Ninetales, and with the extra energy goes for that Shadow Ball and does a massive amount of damage. With the reduced health on Alolan Ninetales, brings in Vigoroth in order to sort of counter down and farm energy a bit. But Alolan Ninetales able to get to enough energy for a Psy Shock, a good shield here, farm down, done, and able to throw those body slams across against the Alolan Marowak, and able to get to a bulldoze. This should deal something like a 60% damage, 60 to 70% damage on the Alolan Marowak. However, Marowak has a decent amount of energy, able to bait out with a Bone Club, and a good swap in with that Bubble Beam being thrown on Vigoroth. Vigoroth throws the Bulldoze, brings Jellicent to quite low, and the other Bubble Beam comes in, so does the shield, and able to just barely farm it down. So quite a close matchup, and quite a good game. Moving on to our second match. Any change of plans here?
Not at all. This team comp has been working for me throughout the tournament, so I stick it.
So you stick with it. which is absolutely perfect. So for the second match, we see the Jellicent lead again, and out comes Valius, the actual counter, and you swap into Vigoroth, and you are met with a Whiscash. So Vigoroth and Whiscash seem to be a very close matchup. Vigoroth will be here with a bit of extra energy and should be able to get to those charge moves slightly before Whiscash. Whiscash decides to invest one shield, so you see a counter investment of one shield from Vigoroth. He goes for double shielding and perfectly shields that Blizzard. Goes for a bit of a farm down with enough energy, throws that body slam, able to take out that Whiscash. Out comes a Alolan Marowak and goes for that bulldoze. This will again deal a lot of damage. The opponent has farmed up a lot of energy, and since there's no shield, and it is still able to get to another body slam. Alolan Marowak invests the shield and then goes for that Shadow Bone. Shadow Bone not enough to take out Jellicent. Out comes Zwalius and is met with a counter Alolan Ninetales there. Enough energy on that Weather Ball, goes for it, will take out Zwalius with the extra energy, goes for the Weather Ball again. This is just for chip damage and almost enough to take out Alolan Marowak. And a good matchup, good games across we see over there. And with that, we see that there was a 5-way tie, and NaagRazz was able to win it with the most amount of wins in the tournament. So congratulations, and extremely good use of that Jellicent, and good team play in Labyrinth Cup.
Thanks, PvP reporter, and thanks for having me here today.
And thanks for sharing so many tips with everyone. I myself got to learn quite a bit. And we hope to see you sweep a lot more tournaments and hopefully reach the legendary tag as well soon.
I am hoping for that too as well.
Unfortunately, we do not have too many tournaments, so you better start sweeping a few more, alright?
Yeah, sure, I'll try.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. And thank you guys for watching the video all the way till the end. We had an extra long one today. And if you enjoy these kind of contents, if you like it, do not forget to like, comment and subscribe. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.